The figure was a woman, maybe in her late 20s. Long blonde hair clung to her face and neck, plastered there by rain. She wore a thin green dress, now completely translucent with water. A small wheeled suitcase lay tipped over in a puddle beside her, but what shattered him wasn't how she looked. It was the sound. She was sobbing, not quiet tears, not sniffles. These were deep, wrenching sobs that shook her entire body, the kind that came from somewhere so broken it hurt just to hear them. Her hands were pressed over her face, and that's when Wolf noticed the black blindfold wrapped around her eyes, soaked through like everything else. She was blind. "Ma'am," Wolf called out, raising his voice over the rain, but keeping it gentle. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Her head snapped up at the sound of his voice. Though her eyes were hidden behind the wet blindfold, her entire body went rigid with fear. "Please," she gasped, her voice raw from crying. "Please, I'm just waiting for the bus. Just leave me alone." Wolf swallowed hard. "Ma'am, the last bus came 2 hours ago," he said carefully, stepping closer but keeping his distance. "There won't be another one until morning. You can't stay out here. You're freezing." "I have to wait," she insisted, her voice cracking. He said someone would come. He promised. Fresh sobs tore from her chest, so full of anguish that Wolf felt his own eyes sting. This wasn't someone who was merely lost. This was someone whose world had collapsed. Wolf crouched down a few feet away, lowering himself to her level. "Ma'am, I don't know what happened to you," he said softly, "but I can see you're hurting. My name is Wolf River. I live here in Cedar Falls. I can take you somewhere safe, the hospital, the police station, wherever you want. But you can't stay out here. You're going to get hypothermia." She was shaking violently now, teeth chattering. I don't know where to go. I don't have anything." Her voice broke completely on that last word. Wolf's chest tightened painfully. "Then come with me," he said gently, "just to get warm and dry. I promise you're safe. I have a daughter at home. She's 7. I swear I only want to help." For a long moment, she didn't move. Rain poured down around them, soaking both of them to the skin. Then, slowly, her head nodded. Wolf stood and carefully helped her to her feet. She was unsteady, disoriented. He retrieved her small suitcase and guided her toward his truck, his hand light and respectful on her elbow. Once she was inside, he cranked the heater to full blast and draped his rain jacket around her shoulders. She pulled it close, still shivering, still crying, quieter now, but no less broken. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." Wolf cleared his throat. "What's your name?" "Bliss," she said after a moment. "Bliss Frost." "Bliss," Wolf said, committing it to memory. "I'm going to take you to my house, so you can get warm. Then we'll figure everything else out." She nodded, unable to speak. As he pulled back onto the road, one question burned in his mind. Who would leave a blind woman at a bus stop in the middle of the storm? Wolf's house on Maple Street glowed warmly against the dark. Inside, his younger brother Andre was sprawled on the couch with a paperback in hand. "Whoa," Andre said, sitting upright when he saw Bliss. "What happened?" "Found her at the old bus stop," Wolf said quietly. "She needs help. Can you grab towels and see if there's anything of Melanie's that might fit her?" Andre didn't hesitate. Wolf's late wife had been gone for 5 years, but some of her clothes still rested quietly in boxes. "Of course." Wolf guided Bliss to the couch. "You're safe now," he told her. "Nobody's going to hurt you here." "Where's your daughter?" Bliss asked softly. "Asleep upstairs. Her name's Honey." Andre returned with towels and dry clothes, gray sweatpants and a soft cream sweater. Wolf carefully explained the bathroom layout, describing everything so Bliss could navigate safely. When she disappeared into the bathroom, Andre leaned closer. "She's terrified," he murmured. "I know," Wolf said. "Whatever happened, it was bad." 30 minutes later, Bliss emerged clean and dry, Melanie's clothes hanging a little loose on her frame. The blindfold remained. Wolf noticed how she held herself, small, guarded, exhausted. Andre handed her a mug of hot tea with honey. She wrapped her hands around it as if it were a lifeline. "I was left there," she whispered after a long silence. I was told to wait, that someone would come. Her voice cracked. But nobody came. Wolf clenched his fists. Who left you there? He asked. She shook her head. I can't talk about it yet. It hurts too much. That's okay, Wolf said immediately. You're safe. That's what matters. He showed her to the guest room and made sure she knew where everything was. If you need anything, he said, just call out. Thank you, she whispered, for not leaving me. I would never, Wolf replied. That night, Wolf lay awake listening to rain, wondering what kind of cruelty could abandon someone so completely. The next morning, Bliss was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a mug of coffee. Her face was pale, tear-streaked. Couldn't sleep? Wolf asked. She shook her head. Every time I close my eyes, I'm back at that bus stop. There was a long pause. It was my husband, she finally said. His name is Slate. The words landed like a blow. She told him everything, her blindness, the gaslighting, the lies, the bus stop abandonment, how he'd wanted her to disappear. I trusted him, she sobbed. He took everything from me. Wolf moved closer, his voice fierce and steady. We're going to stop him. Together. Before Bliss could respond, small feet thundered down the stairs. Honey burst into the kitchen, stopped short, and stared. Oh, are you the lady Daddy helped last night? She climbed into the chair beside Bliss without hesitation. I'm Honey. Bliss turned toward her voice. I'm blind, she explained gently. Honey considered this seriously. That must be hard, but you're probably really brave. Bliss smiled through tears. You don't have to be alone anymore, Honey said firmly. You can stay with us. Wolf watched as something inside Bliss shifted, just a little, a crack of light. That afternoon, Wolf took Bliss to the Cedar Falls Police Department. He didn't rush her. He let her set the pace, his presence steady at her side. Honey's words still echoing in Bliss's heart like a promise she wasn't ready to believe, but desperately wanted to. Detective Rachel Morrison listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with every detail Bliss shared. When Bliss mentioned her jewelry business, the savings, the financial control her husband had quietly taken over, the detective leaned forward. Do you have any backups? She asked gently. Cloud storage? Emails? Anything he might not have known about? Bliss hesitated. I think so. Before I lost my sight, I was meticulous. Designs, invoices, bank alerts. I backed everything up automatically. Within hours, the department's tech specialist confirmed it. The truth was undeniable. Slate Frost had been draining Bliss's accounts for months. One transfer after another. Nearly $200,000 moved quietly into offshore accounts. The first transfer dated just 2 weeks after Bliss went blind. And then came the final blow. He took out a life insurance policy on you 6 months ago, Detective Morrison said grimly. Wolf felt sick. He was going to have you declared dead. Bliss went still. Yes, the detective confirmed. Abandonment, fraud, attempted insurance deception. We're issuing a warrant. Bliss didn't cry this time. She sat straighter, hands folded in her lap. For the first time since the bus stop, fear was no longer the loudest thing in her chest. Hope was. Wolf insisted Bliss stay with them while the investigation unfolded. At first she resisted. She didn't want to be a burden, but Honey's enthusiasm erased every argument. I already told my class you're my new friend, Honey said seriously. If you leave, I'll look like a liar. So Bliss stayed, and slowly, carefully, she began to heal. Wolf connected her with a mobility specialist named Patricia, who had been blind herself for over 20 years. Patricia's voice carried confidence born of experience. Your independence isn't gone, she told Bliss during their first session. It's just different. Different doesn't mean less. Those words anchored Bliss on the days fear tried to pull her under. She learned to navigate the house by touch and memory, then the sidewalk, then the neighborhood. Every small victory felt monumental. Making coffee alone, walking to the mailbox, finding the porch without help. Honey appointed herself Bliss's official describer of things. The pasta looks like curly telephone cords, she explained one night. The sauce is red like fire trucks. And the cheese looks like yellow snow, but Daddy says we never eat real yellow snow. Bliss laughed. Real laughter. The sound surprised her. Some days were still hard. Panic attacks came without warning. Nightmares dragged her back to the rain-soaked bus stop. But Wolf was always there, never pushing, never demanding explanations, just present. One night, 2 months later, Wolf heard quiet sobbing from the guest room. "Bliss," he whispered through the door. "Can I come in?" "Yes." She sat on the bed, shaking. "I dreamed I was there again, and nobody came." Wolf sat beside her, careful not to overwhelm her. "But somebody did come," he said softly. "You're not there anymore. You're here, and we're not going anywhere." "Why?" she asked. "Why do you care so much?" Wolf took a long breath. "Because I know what it's like to lose everything, and because you're worth caring about. Trauma lies to you, but I see your strength, even when you don't." Bliss cried then, but it was different. The kind of tears that wash pain instead of drowning in it. For months after that rainy night, Bliss stood in Wolf's garage with her hands hovering over a workbench. "My hands remember," she said quietly. "Metal, weight, shape." Wolf nodded, then let them remember. She began again, designing jewelry by touch alone. Silver wire curled beneath her fingers. Stones settled into settings guided by instinct and muscle memory. The first piece she completed was a silver pendant shaped like a tree, roots becoming branches. She gave it to Honey. "It feels alive," Honey whispered. "Like it grew." Word spread quickly. Clients returned. New ones came. Bliss's work became sought after, not just for beauty, but for what it represented. Resilience. Transformation. Wolf watched her become herself again, stronger, fiercer, truer. And somewhere along the way, he realized he was falling in love. Quietly, without expectation. 8 months after the storm, Slate's trial began. Bliss stood before the courtroom and removed her blindfold. Her eyes, green and unseeing, faced a man who had tried to erase her. "You thought my blindness made me weak," she said clearly. "But it taught me exactly who you are." The jury deliberated less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Slate was sentenced to 10 years in prison and ordered to repay every dollar. Justice had found her. Life unfolded beautifully after that. Bliss's business expanded. Wolf opened his own woodworking studio. Together, they built more than furniture and jewelry. They built a life. Honey noticed before either of them admitted it. "You already act married," she said one night. "You should probably just do it." So they did. On a spring day filled with laughter, Bliss and Wolf said yes to forever. "I see you," Wolf whispered as he kissed her. "And I see you," Bliss replied, "in all the ways that matter." 3 years after the bus stop, Bliss sat on the porch cradling their baby daughter, Melody. Honey read from her latest manuscript about a blind superhero who saw hearts instead of faces. Wolf watched them, overwhelmed. "Everything," he said when Honey asked what he was staring at. "Everything he never knew he needed." The bus stop still stood at the edge of town, empty now, weathered by time. But it had been the beginning of everything. Sometimes the darkest storms bring the brightest lives. Sometimes love looks like stopping in the rain. And sometimes choosing to care changes everything. That was their story. And it was everything.